visited the Changi Museum, where a photo of my grandmother and her family is displayed. It was taken on Changi Beach just before the invasion. It really hit home just how young they all were, and how, just as in our recent pandemic, utterly unaware they were of how their life was about to change forever. During the visit, my grandmother and the family spoke in both English and Malay intermittently, and some people we encountered were surprised when an elderly, Western-looking woman was furiously bartering in the market for food in their native tongue. One evening in Johor Bahru, while staying in a conference-type hotel where we felt slightly out of place without our pinstripe suits on, my grandmother's language skills did make me chuckle. We found ourselves in a lift filled with these suits who were intent on conducting a very heated debate once we joined them. The climb to the 11th floor was tedious, and the lift seemed to stop at every floor, whilst the debate seemed to get more intense, and the number of suits did not seem to be dwindling. Finally, our floor came. The doors opened, and over her shoulder, my grandmother said in a very loud voice, "Nonna." The doors slid shut as the jaws of the suits hit the floor. The debate had been about whether I was her daughter or granddaughter, and there had been some heated deliberation about this. My grandmother had absorbed, listened, and waited patiently for the right moment for maximum effect. Maybe this had been a skill perfected in camp. The internment of prisoners during wars has impacted many future generations of families throughout history, through the stories told, the attachments formed, or just because a glimpse of the worst part of humanity is seen through a personal lens, and it is horrifying. These terrible experiences can also give us hope that by sharing stories of the past, we can learn from the storyteller's resilience and make a better future for the world. Although not always comfortable to revisit, it is important that these stories are shared, heard, and remembered. Emma Murray, April 2023. Prologue. It's hard for me to imagine a lovelier childhood than the one my siblings and I shared in the Far East before the outbreak of the Second World War. We lived in Johor Bahru, at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, just across the water from the island of Singapore. I was the second of my parents' 4 children. My big sister Mary was born in 1929. I followed in 1932. We had 2 younger brothers, Peter and George. In those long-ago days before the Japanese occupation, we children felt we were growing up in a paradise. We only had to go into the garden to pluck mangoes and guavas straight from the tree. Holidays were spent at our hut on the golden sand at Changi Beach. We kept a monkey for a pet. When we weren't at school, life felt like one long adventure. We were surrounded by friends of all nationalities, and there was always somebody to play with. Though officially we were British children, there's no doubt that to us Johor Bahru was home. So when war came to our region in late 1941, we did not immediately try to leave, as many other British citizens in the region did. Why would we? Malaya, as we called it then, was where our lives were, our father's work, our house, our school, our friends. Of course we'd stay. Why would we want to be anywhere else? But to stay was a decision that would cost us 3.5 years of freedom and change our lives forever, as our paradise was transformed into a hell. Olga Henderson. Part 1. Paradise. One day I went out to play, skipped into the forest, and found 3 tiny tiger cubs sheltering in their den. I picked one of them up and took it back to show Mum. 1919 to 1941.